Hello, welcome to this video on listening comprehension strategies. I work with a lot of students and many of them are working with listening comprehension difficulty. So we work on strategies that help us to be better listeners. In this video, we'll talk about what listening comprehension is, why it's important, and we'll go over 10 tips that I work with my students on to help with better listening. First, what do I mean when I say listening comprehension? Basically, listening comprehension means hearing and understanding things that are spoken to us. They might be spoken to us in face-to-face conversation, or they might be something you listen to, like on a YouTube video. Regardless, listening comprehension is really important in a lot of different settings. It helps us to learn when we're at school. It helps us to have good conversations with our family and our friends. And in the workplace, it helps us to do a good job. So we need to have good strategies for it because at its core, listening can be hard. Once someone is done speaking to you, there's just silence. You have to remember what they've said, hold it in your memory, and then use it when you need to. And that can be tough. Sometimes they're speaking too quickly. Sometimes there are just distractions around that get our attention. And you want to make sure that you're doing things the way you're supposed to, right? Whether it's at school or work or with your friends. So, because listening by itself can be difficult, almost everyone uses strategies. I guarantee your friends, your parents, the people you know, at some point in time, listening has been hard for them. And they've probably used one of these strategies or maybe something of their own. So, what are some of the strategies that I talk to my students about to help them make sure that they're doing their best listening? One of the first strategies I always talk about is check your body. Are you calm and ready to focus and listen? Are you turned with your shoulders to face the person that you're going to be listening to? Are your eyes checking in? Are you able to sit and relax and really pay attention? If right at this moment you just can't be still and listen, then maybe you need to use some strategies to manage that before you tune in. Maybe it means taking a few deep breaths or taking a walk. But if your body's not ready to listen yet, start there before you go any further. The second strategy that I always tell my students to use is asking to hear it again. As I said earlier, when someone stops speaking, the things that they said are just gone. If you missed it, you don't have a way to look back. It's always okay to ask to hear something again, especially if that's going to help you make sure that you really understood it. If you're watching a video, you can ask to play the video again, and maybe that will help you get things you might have missed the first time. The third strategy that I always encourage my students to use is asking if you can hear it more slowly. In the world, people are going pretty fast. Adults and people on YouTube videos and people at your job, they may be talking to you really quickly, and sometimes you might miss something. You can ask someone to say it a little more slowly if you miss something, or if you're watching something like a YouTube video, use the settings button in the lower right corner and change the playback speed. For many videos I've seen online, people are talking really rapidly. If you play back that video at half or 3/4 speed, you might hear things you missed the first time. The next strategy that I encourage my students to use is repeating what you've heard to yourself. If you're in class, you'll want to do this quietly. But if you're somewhere where you don't have to be as quiet, just listening and repeating back what you know can help to clarify things for you. It helps to keep those things in your working memory so that you're better able to understand them. The fifth strategy that we talk about is asking to see it in writing. Sometimes, as I said, when you hear things, they're there and they're gone. If you can see something in writing, if you can follow along what you're listening to by looking at the words, it can really help, especially if there's some unfamiliar vocabulary in what you're listening to. If you don't have writing available, you can ask if there are pictures or illustrations. Maybe if you're learning a new story or a new concept in science in school, sometimes there are diagrams and pictures that can really help you better understand what you're hearing. So asking for visuals can help. Another strategy that I encourage people to try is seeing if there's a song that you can play that has the same concept, or setting the ideas you've heard to music. I am lucky enough to work with music therapists, and they are geniuses at taking important information and setting it to a rhythm or song. Think about it. Most of us know the words to our favorite songs. Even if we haven't heard that song in years, we can sing them again. I know I was in school years ago and had to learn a song that involved saying the names of all 50 of the United States in alphabetical order. And I can still say the names of all 50 states in alphabetical order because I heard that song and practiced it and learned it. So if you can take the information you need to learn and set it to music or song, that can be a really good thing. The next thing that I encourage my students to do is to just take time before answering a question. If you just heard some information, taking a quiet moment to think about it and really process it before you answer a question about it can help. So just saying, "Can you give me a minute?" and taking a moment to think can help you to get your thoughts in order. The next thing on my list of strategies is I encourage people to see if they can find out what the questions will be before they listen to the content. This works especially well if you're at school. If your teacher says you're about to watch a video about polar bears, and you can find out before you watch that video that the purpose of this video is for you to learn about what they eat, then you know when you're watching and listening, you're going to be listening for information about their food. Just knowing in advance what you're supposed to be listening for can help your brain get all those sounds in order and make sure that you're listening to the right parts. Finally, the biggest one for me, identify those distracting thoughts and change the channel. Distractions are real. Sometimes distractions are happening around you. Maybe it's something outside the window or the other people around you. You can't really control that. You can just try to block that out as best you can. But sometimes distractions are in our own thoughts. We get worried about something that happened earlier in the day, or think about something we're going to do later today. Maybe in our head we're just humming a song, or we're playing back a YouTube video we like. But when it's time to listen and really focus, those distractions in our thoughts can be a big problem. I try to always tell my students that the things they're thinking about aren't a problem by themselves. It's just to know when you can think those thoughts. So maybe making a note to yourself like, I want to watch that YouTube video again later, or I want to think about what I talked to my friend about this morning. And then thinking about when in your day you can do that. Maybe it's during a break, during a meal, maybe it's after school or after work. Knowing that it's okay to have those thoughts, you just need to find the right time and place for them, will help you to tune back in to what you really need to listen to in the moment. So those are 10 strategies that I work with my students on to help with listening comprehension. Just to make a quick list of them here, once again. Check and see, is your body ready to listen now? Ask if you can hear the information again. Ask if you can hear it said more slowly. Repeat what you've heard to yourself to make sure you got it. Ask if you can see it in writing, or if you can see pictures or illustrations that help you understand. Set it to music if you can. Take your time before answering to make sure you really have got what you get the question before you listen so that you know what to listen for. And identify any distracting thoughts and try to change the channel. Hopefully these things will help you with your listening. And if you've got your own tips for listening, I hope you'll add them in the comments below. Thanks and have a good day.